Are you a first-time home buyer thinking about navigating today's crazy mortgage market and you're not sure where to turn? There's a ton of bad information out there, but I wanted to make this quick video to give you my top 10 tips to help you navigate the first-time home buyer waters and help you cross the finish line. And if this is the first time that you're checking out my channel, my name is Seanu Uyehara. I'm a branch manager with Loan Depot, helping you finance your homes all across America. Whether you're thinking about purchasing or refinancing or buying your first investment property, it wasn't too long ago I was just like you, learning how to navigate these waters, and that's why I created my channel to help you get your mortgage right. You can hit the description for links on more information on how to get your mortgage right. You can also send me an email if you have specific scenarios on getting pre-qualified or simply looking for a second opinion on your home financing. And I created this video to give you my top 10 tips of do's and don'ts to help you navigate these waters. Interest rates have been going up. There's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace. And I thought to myself, what if I went back in time and I put myself back in your shoes as a first-time home buyer? What would I really need to know today to make me feel better and make the right decision about buying a house? So I'm gonna hop into the do's first, and then we're gonna hop into the don'ts. So number one on the do's list is getting your credit right. That's one of the first things that we are gonna look for as a mortgage lender to qualify you for your home loan. We're going to take a look at your credit report. So I would suggest for you to think about getting familiar with how credit works. Whether you use a service like Experian.com to monitor your credit report, which I personally like using that. You can use Credit Karma, Credit Sesame to monitor just to get an idea of what's being reported, get a rough idea as to what your credit score is. But remember, if you're using Credit Karma or Credit Sesame, that's not the credit score that any mortgage lender uses. It is a completely different score. In fact, more often than not, your score on those types of websites are going to be probably 50 to 70 points higher than what a mortgage lender will pull. But for the simple sake of monitoring your credit to see what trade lines are reporting, are there any inaccuracies that are on your credit report? Are there collections from your past that are still showing up for some reason that maybe you thought you had paid for? Or I have even had clients where their parents or brothers and sisters have taken their socials and have bought cars and credit cards with their credit. You want to make sure that everything is pristine as possible, but know that you don't need to have perfect credit to buy a house, but you want to get an idea of what's on there, because you don't want to wait until the last minute, come to a lender, try to get qualified, only to find out that there's some stuff on there that you were totally unaware of and you can't buy. Now you're pushing out the goal of purchasing a home, you get discouraged and you never do it. So it becomes this snowball effect of bad news if you get blindsided and it's something that you're just not willing to work on. So make sure you get really familiar with your credit report and what's being reported. Number two is your down payment. Do you know where your down payment's coming from? Is it a gift from your family member? Is it coming from your wedding? Is it coming from you selling a car? Where is your down payment coming from? You got to figure this part out. Now, the biggest myth out there is that you have to have a 20% down payment. And remember, you don't need that. You can put as little as 3% down. And remember, there are down payment assistance programs across the country that will literally cover your down payment to purchase a home. So make sure that you check with a lender who's familiar with some of these programs, because that can accelerate your ability to get into your house that much faster. But let's say you don't qualify for any of these programs for whatever reason, and you have to come up with the money yourself. It's a good idea to get with a lender to understand how do they look at the down payment, what acceptable sources are allowed for the down payment. And for some of you that have cash laying around at home, how do you best navigate the waters of getting that cash into your bank account? And I've even had some clients that tell me that they don't even have bank accounts. So if you're one of those people that don't have a checking account, you need to make sure that you go get an account. So there's a lot of these basic things that we need to cross the bridge on. And if you're unfamiliar with them or you're not prepared, that could also be a rude awakening, just like your credit report. So you have to get familiar with your finances, start budgeting for a down payment, so that way you're ready to go. And number three, you want to make sure that your income is stable. I know that may sound a little obvious, but if you look at the economy and what's been happening over the last several years, it's actually fair to say if someone didn't feel stable at their job because things are contracting, is your position still going to be around? Are you working remotely? Do you have to go into your job? There's all these things that, to me, are legitimate questions that we almost weren't even asking these questions maybe 5 or 10 years ago. So You want to make sure that you have some stability at your job, you know what you're going to be getting paid, and you can expect to be there for the foreseeable future. Now, if you're unsure, I wouldn't go ahead and buy a house just yet, because we do have to verify your employment. And if we get to the point of verifying your employment, and let's say your employer is about to let you go, you might lose your earnest money, and there's all kinds of headaches that can come with that. So you want to make sure that you have a stable job, because that will be the baseline as to how we will help you budget and pick the right mortgage for you, so that way you are not going to be house poor, where you are constantly having to work with no savings just to make ends meet. And that's the last thing we want any of our clients to run into. And number 4, to go along with your finances, is to make sure that you filed your tax return. I've had a number of clients that have gone years without paying taxes, and they come to us, they want to buy a house, and I'm like, hey Joe, you haven't filed for the last 4 years. What's up with that, man? Well, I'm getting around to it. I just haven't got all my 1099s, or I didn't get to do this, or I didn't get to do that. We're always going to ask you for the last 2 years of your tax return. If you're looking for any sort of conventional financing, any lender will ask you for the last 2 years. So make sure that you get caught up on all of this stuff, because the IRS, if you owe them money, they're going to come after you. They're going to put a lien on the house. And no lender wants that to happen, because it's just not a good look. No one wants to deal with that. So make sure that you are up and up on your taxes. Nothing's owed. It's okay if you owe and you're on a payment plan. That's totally fine. A lender will accept that. However, if you've just gone dark and you've avoided it and just didn't want to pay it thinking that you'd get away with it, that's a totally different story. But just make sure you do that, because I have clients to this day that go years without paying their taxes, and it's something that literally holds them back from buying a home. So make sure that you're responsible, you take care of that, so you make your lender's job easier to get you into your home. And number 5, make sure to get with a good mortgage lender. This is super important, because many times I hear buyers going out and finding a real estate agent first. And I know that's kind of the common thing, because you get excited, you're on Zillow, you see a house and you're like, man, you tell your girlfriend, babe, I'd love to go look at this house. And you go and the agent shows you the home. But you have to make sure that your finances are in place. So you always want to get with the lender first. A good lender is going to work with great realtors as well, because most real estate agents, and this isn't a knock on any realtor out there, but most realtors don't do a ton of business. I think the average number of deals a realtor does in a year is anywhere from 5 to 7 transactions. So if you reach out to an agent, go show you a house, do you really know how much business they've done? Think about it. If you were getting a surgical procedure done, you'd want the guy who has thousands of cases under his belt that will never make a mistake. You're buying a house. You're going to spend tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably the biggest purchase you will ever make in your life. Would you rather have someone who's done 2 deals this year or 30? I would rather go with the guy who's done 30, to make sure that they know how to negotiate. They know what the market's doing. They know how to best represent me, versus the guy that's needing the deal just to pay his bills. So that's why it's really important to get with a lender, because a great lender, like I said, is going to have good relationships that they can refer you to a responsible, a timely agent, someone who's going to work well for you. And you really want someone in your corner that's going to fight for you to get a deal done, especially in today's market, because it's super competitive. There's multiple offers on almost every house out there, and you need someone with good strategies and good negotiating skills that's going to get you across the finish line. And before we hop into the don'ts, I'm going to give a special shout out to our commenter of the week, Laura Ferrara. Laura mentioned that I enjoyed watching your videos since I will be a first-time home buyer. I currently live in California, but will be relocating to Las Vegas to teach. Laura, thanks so much for being a teacher, and we appreciate everything that you do. Is there any advice you can give me being a first-time buyer? Are there any programs for teachers? Yes, Laura, there are first-time buyer programs specifically for teachers. So just make sure that you reach out to us when you get a chance, and we'll walk you through all the specifics of those programs. And if you are watching this and you're looking to relocate anywhere else across the country and you're a teacher, don't forget there normally are teacher-specific grants and programs out there that can help you get into your home. So don't let that be a reason why you're not becoming a buyer in today's market. And now we're gonna hop into our don'ts list. And we've got 5 things that you shouldn't do and don't do, and you just wanna stay away from if you wanna become a home owner. And number 1 on the list is do not lie on your application. This might sound pretty obvious, but you would be surprised at how many times I get applications that are inaccurate because the clients withheld information or they didn't think we'd find the information out, and we end up doing, which then causes all kinds of issues. So one word of caution I can tell you, just be honest with your lender. If you have questions, ask them, because they will be able to help navigate those waters so that way you can get through the underwriting process as seamlessly as possible. So if you're getting divorced, tell them. If you're legally married but you're separated, tell them. You've got $50,000 of cash at home, that's where your down payment's coming from, tell your lender. We're not gonna go call the IRS to report you. All we need to know is, hey, you've got a ton of cash at home and we got to get it into the bank so that way we can get you qualified to purchase a home. There's a number of things that come up that honestly, your lender should become your best friend, because we look at all your finances, your bank statements, your income, your taxes. We look at everything that you probably don't show your best friend. We probably look at everything that sometimes you wouldn't even share with your other family members. But the more that we know, the better we can help structure your deal, get you into your house. In fact, I've even got a video that I created that breaks down how to properly fill out a loan application. So make sure to check out my playlist to watch that video. Number two, another don't be afraid to talk to your lender. This kind of piggybacks off of number one, because a lot of times as buyers, you, for whatever reason, feel more rapport with the real estate agent. And I've seen this time and time again, but your lender is the one that's looking at your finances. We don't necessarily talk to the real estate agent about your finances unless it's part of the transaction, as far as down payments go, or even do you have extra money to cover an appraisal gap or anything like that. But more often than not, the conversations that we have are confidential. So you can confide in your lender to know that they're there to help you get across that finish line. And I know I've said that more than once in this video, but it's something that I do want to stress, because conversations that do take place to help your application get done, it's truly for that simple matter. We don't go back to the realtor and say, hey, I just talked to Leo today and he told me this about his income or whatever. We're there to just make sure that the application checks out. We're doing everything above board, and it's going to make sense so that way your loan gets approved. So don't be hesitant to share anything with your lender. Your lender's there to have your back and to get you across that finish line. Because another thing that comes up is that once you decide to buy a house, you have so many friends and family members that actually start to give you advice. And you never want to take advice from someone who's bought a house once in their life, back in 1995, let's say, or your parents or friends, coworkers, whoever it may be. The lending industry is constantly changing. And unless they bought a house within the last maybe 6 months to a year, they're really out of touch with the lending industry and really what's going on in the marketplace. So I would just caution you, yes, your family members are always gonna get in the middle of your business and tell you what you should and shouldn't do. But what I would do if I were you as a first-time buyer, I would take that information and I would have a conversation with my lender. And you can call them up and say you called me up and, hey, Sean, this is what my mom said, or this is what my dad said. Is this accurate? Is this true? I know you said this is the way things should be, but yet my coworker's saying X. You always want to be able to trust and confide in both your realtor and your lender. If they're true professionals, they're doing deals nearly every single day. And I can tell you at my team, we've closed hundreds of deals every single year, to where we're helping hundreds and thousands of clients over our career. So I've seen a ton of scenarios, and I can give you the latest and most up-to-date information on the market, rates, whatever it might be, so that way you can have peace of mind. But again, that's where the communication comes into play, and that's why it's so important to have that relationship with your lender and your realtor. Number 3 on the don't list is don't skip the pre-approval process. Some of you see some of these commercials online, or maybe you're swiping through Instagram and you see these guys that talk about getting pre-approved in the same day, or getting pre-approved by pushing a button, or getting pre-approved by just completing an online application. You want to make sure that your lender is verifying everything, from your credit report to your income to your assets. Everything that really goes into qualifying for the loan, you want to make sure the lender verifies it. Now, some of you might get lazy and say, well, I can just call my bank up and then they'll give me a pre-qual letter. That's not what you want. They're not verifying anything. And unless you have millions of dollars in the bank, that's not the way you're gonna go. It's a total waste of time, because what'll happen is they'll give you the letter, you'll go shopping, you'll get in a contract on a house, and then once you start to process your application, the lender will say, oh, Joe, you don't qualify for the mortgage. And you're gonna say, well, Sean, you gave me a pre-qual letter. And then they're gonna say, well, Joe, we didn't verify anything, and this was based on the information you gave us over the phone. You're gonna get pissed. You're gonna potentially lose your earnest money deposit. You wasted a ton of money and time to simply get let down. So that's why it's on our don'ts list. Don't skip the pre-approval process. If you're serious about buying a house, let the lender pull your credit and provide them all the necessary documentation in order for them to qualify you. Do not skip this step. I see clients do this all the time. I talk to realtors every day that get so fed up and frustrated with lenders that do this kind of stuff that they don't even want to take their offers once they see that specific company on the pre-approval letter. So don't skip that step. I can tell you it's going to cause you more of a headache than anything else. Number 4, when you are shopping for your mortgage, you have to remember to shop on the same day. So do not shop lenders on different days. And why is that important? It's important because if you've been watching the mortgage industry and rates over the last 30, 60 days, rates have been super volatile. So the rate that I could quote a client today is going to be different than the rate tomorrow. So if you are shopping around, which I encourage you to do, you want to make sure that if you call lender A, you get a quote, you get an estimate from them today, you need to call lender B and get the exact same thing done. Because if you wait a day or two, or what a lot of people do is they shop around and wait until they get into contract, then they decide on who they're going to work with. The rates have changed. You have to make the decision the same day. You cannot wait a day or anything else. If you're going to shop around, make sure to do it on the same day, or else you're honestly wasting time and you're not even comparing apples to apples. And number 5, don't get discouraged. I see buyers time and time again, because the market's tough right now, they say the same thing. Market's too hot, now's not the right time, maybe it's not meant for me, and all of these things that are literally self-limiting beliefs as to why they can't buy a house. You have to stay diligent. You have to stay persistent. You might get frustrated for a day, might get frustrated for a week, but it's okay. Let it go. Don't let that be a reason why you don't buy a house, because I can guarantee you this. Every single client last year that got discouraged and didn't buy is regretting the fact that they didn't buy last year. Because why? Prices went up and interest rates went up. So don't be that person that you might have had a bad day, a bad week, and you know what? You probably had 10 offers get rejected. So what? Just keep fighting, stay consistent, because the next offer that you make could literally be the one that sticks. So don't get discouraged. Don't give up too quickly. I've had a lot of clients that I've helped get through this process. I can be a sounding board. If you're not feeling good, give your lender a call and just tell them your frustrations. Tell them what's going on. Tell them what you're thinking. Because if they've been in the business long enough, we've seen these cycles before where it's tough for clients to get their offers accepted. But I can tell you this one thing, it's unanimous across the board. Once the offer gets accepted, that's probably one of the greatest feelings. And I can hear it every single time on the phone when I talk to a client and I say, congratulations, your offer is accepted. They literally can almost come to tears because of all the hard work that they've put in. So don't give up. It's a tough market. We're all dealing with it, but that's why a true professional on the lending side and the real estate side can help you across the finish line. And if you are thinking about becoming a first-time home buyer, don't forget, you can hit the description below to get started on your online application with us, and we can get you approved to get you out shopping anywhere in the country. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.